Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. Nate Edwards, that's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. This is your transfer portal edition. Now, this is going to be fun because we are sitting in the past. December 29th. And you are listening to this in the future. Or some point before or around January 2nd. So you know more than we do. But we're going to go take a little hibernation nap from podcasting. But we wanted to leave you a little gift on transfer portal stuff since that is coming up and we weren't going to be active when it opens. So we want to give our thoughts on the portal process, highlight what we're looking for per position, some things to keep an eye on, some positions of need, some positions of wealth, and just kind of what we expect going forward. Nathan Hurst, you ready to talk about portal season?
Yes, I guess I am, because that's what season it is now. There's no more actual season to talk about. But hey, it beats previous years where, pre-portal season where January is absolutely dead period. So at least there's something to talk about. As both of us have entered our sad dad portion of the holiday season, wearing nothing but hoodies and maybe the pair of underwear on day 3. It's
Speak for yourself.
it's that December 29th is always I don't know what day it is. I don't know what year it is. At some point in time, I'll go back to work, but it's not now and it's not tomorrow. So
yeah. I mean, the kids had an argument today of whether it was Wednesday or Thursday. I'm like, guys, it's Tuesday, and I was wrong because it's Monday.
It doesn't matter. We're working on caffeine and vibes.
That's right, caffeine and vibes. The story of 2025. So yeah, let's get into this. Missouri is in an interesting situation because last year they had to rebuild their offense almost from scratch, losing a bunch of NFL guys, multi-year starters, including the quarterback. And now they're basically going to have to do that again, which sucks. The whole point of this was to be a bridge year to build into something with some consistency, and now they're just not going to have that. So we started the quarterback position, the most important position. The dirty little secret is that you look for a portal quarterback every single portal season. You find what's out there. You're either searching for a starter or a backup for your just to add depth to what you already have. I think the bowl game taught us that Missouri really should probably be in the market for a starter. Certainly a 1 year, maybe a 2 year, but it seems like Zollers might need a little redshirt season to hang out and not have any actual games that he needs to decide. But you currently, because this is December 29th, you currently have Sam Horn entering his last year, which God forbid if he wants to don the black and gold again, given all the injury luck that he has with us. You technically have Sam Horn in his last year. You have Matt Zollers, and of course, wee baby freshman Gavin Sidwar coming in from the high school ranks. Do we need 2? Just 1? What do you think?
I think there's at least 1 certainly, and it needs to be somebody that comes in, and if they aren't the shoe-in starter, they have to push Zollers, and to be ready to compete for that job. And maybe it's someone that pushes Zollers enough that Zollers is able to improve enough that he wins the job. And if so, great, that's awesome. But definitely needs to be at least 1. I think it depends on what Sam Horn's status is. We've all kind of assumed that he would be gone after this year just because he's signed that contract with the Dodgers. It kind of appears at this point that his future in athletics as a athlete is in the baseball realm. So we've kind of assumed that, but he's not said a word about that. He's been very quiet. And so, if he comes back and he was better than Zollers going into this year because he was the second string guy. If he comes back and is on the team, then I think we only need to bring 1 because that's going to be 4 guys at that point, and 1.5 guys that you kind of are okay with playing, depending on who they bring in. So I would assume Brett Brown will probably be hanging out again as well as a number 5. So yeah, at this point I would say 1. If you do bring in 2, one of the guys is probably going to come in knowing that he's definitely not going to be number 1 or probably number 2. So it'd be kind of a tough sell to bring in a second guy, knowing that they're probably going to be number 3. But maybe it's somebody from D2 who just wants to, be on an SEC team for their 6th year or whatever. I mean, that's kind of what Trinidad Chambliss did, and
Mm-hmm.
look what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
So you never really know. Um, but yeah, at least one for sure.
Yeah. Moving on to running back. Let's assume Jamal Roberts stays. Does Mizzou need anything out of the portal for running back?
No, I don't think so. And in fact, I think I would strongly advise them to not bring anyone in, because if they
Mm-hmm.
bring someone in, that means it makes it much more likely that Jamal Roberts does leave.
Mm-hmm.
So that at this point, I mean, now we haven't heard anything about DeVorce Jones, but we've heard from other guys. So at this point, I'm kind of assuming he's going to be back for his fourth year. So you've got Hardy, you've got Roberts, you've got Jones, you got Warner coming in, the freshman. That's four guys, four scholarship running backs, and then a couple um, a couple walk-ons. Is that I really don't think that they need to go and invest any more resources than they already have in the running back, because they're already probably going to be investing an outsized amount at the running back position compared to just about any other SEC team, minus whoever ends up with Keywan Lacey this year, because they dropped a bag on Hardy's front door. They're going to have to if they're going to keep Roberts as well, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of money for a position that you know is Hardy replaceable? Probably not, but it kind of is a fairly replaceable, certainly in the Drinkwitz system, a replaceable position.
Yeah. Now, looking at wide receiver, even if you had Marquise Johnson and Josh Manning coming back, you needed to bring in at least one more.
Yeah.
Now you're in a situation where you have 6 receivers. Your most productive is freshman Donovan Olugbade. Your most experienced is rising senior Daniel Blood, who has 23 catches to his name and 138 yards. 2, 3,
Yeah, at
4?
least two, at least two. But if a third wants to come, I think you certainly don't say no. Yeah, I mean, at this point, in terms of guys you are real comfortable with starting next year on the field, it's Alubade.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Blood, maybe John Terry hasn't seen the field, in the receiver capacity, so we don't really know where if he's going to be ready to go next year. Yeah, I mean, at least two, but probably three if you're really serious about improving this passing game. Um, it's probably got to be three guys.
Yeah. Boy. I know they've already, I think they have an offer out to a receiver from West Florida who's intriguing, speedster. But it'd be nice to have some proven FBS power program experience, which, hey, everybody wants that. So you got to, pony up the bag. Cam Coleman, for example, is in the transfer portal. I had someone tweet at me. He's like, "Hey, what do you think's the going rate for that guy?" And I said, "Whatever he wants, and he's going to get it."
Yeah, he's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a lot
Yeah,
of money. I don't think it will
yeah,
be Mizzou
it won't be
money,
here. No.
because he'll be going to probably Ohio State, if we're going to be real. Ohio State or Texas or LSU. That's where he's going to, or Oregon, I guess.
My guess would be
Beautiful.
LSU,
Yeah.
just with Lane Kiffin, but I don't know. Not Mizzou.
No.
I mean, that's a Cam Coleman is a priority for every team
Oh yeah.
in the country.
I mean,
So,
that guy is a freak. You have that guy on your offense. As long as it's not a Hugh Freeze offense, he's going to make a difference on every play that he's on the field, because you have to account for where he
Yeah.
is on the field at all times.
Yeah. Yeah. So we might have to go through the bargain bin, pick up a scratch and dent, something like that. But like receivers are important in the Eli Drinkwitz offense, please. But you got to have some to catch the ball. You can't just have one.
I mean, and they found a Theo Weiss who probably didn't have a ton of schools fighting over him when he left Oklahoma, and he turned into an outstanding. So they have the ability. I trust Jacob Peeler's ability to evaluate talent. So it's not going to be a 5-star guy who has already excelled and is going for even more money. It's going to be that guy that maybe couldn't see the field at a blue blood, but is still plenty talented.
Yeah. Moving to tight end, for all we know, Brett Norfleet's coming back, and Jordan Harris is coming back. You did have 4 other guys, all of whom have 3 or more years to play. This feels like a position to skip. Like,
Yeah.
Do you really need a tight end?
Yeah. No, you don't.
No.
They're solid enough there, and I feel like when healthy, Norfleet is one of the better tight ends in the SEC.
Yeah.
When he's healthy, the caveat. But even behind him, I mean, I'm comfortable with the Jordan Harris or Jude James, who I think Jude James is going to take a real big leap next year.
Hope so.
And then, the Iowa transfer who didn't see a whole lot of the field
Yeah,
this year, Gavin
Yeah.
Hoffman, and then they're bringing in a freshman as well from Nebraska. So
hmm
that's a pretty deep room, I think. Overall, it's probably not worth spending a whole lot of money, provided that everybody that we think is coming back is coming back.
Yeah. The offensive line is another position. Wide receiver and offensive line are the two positions that you're going. Everyone's job needs to be looked at. And in this instance, I would even say Caden Green. Not like you're not going to start like, should we move you back to guard? Should we? They experimented a little bit with Dominic Jadis at center and Tristan Wilson playing guard. I think the whole thing needs to be reassessed, and that's fine. But that also means you got to bring in a bunch of guys. You currently have 6 guys who are entering their last year. One of whom has never played, Jalen Early, the Florida State transfer. You got 3 in their senior year, like their 4th year, and then you have a bunch after that who have not seen the field and kind of in that redshirt gun club. I would say 2 starting caliber offensive linemen, just because you always need that from the portal, but certainly this season Mizzou needs something.
I would say 3. I mean, now this is without the inside knowledge of what does Johnny Williams the fourth look like in practice. Yeah. Has he looked good, but just couldn't get on the field because Keegan Trost had an All-American season? Maybe. Mm-hmm. And then they're not going to put him over Caden Green. So, but if he was that good, they could easily bump Caden Green into tackle and would have done that at some point in the season too. So, but what does he look like? If they're confident that he's going to be able to be a starter next year, then maybe 2, but we don't know. So I'm going to say 3, and I think 2 of them need to be interior guys. Mm-hmm. Jadis will probably be back. He'll probably lock down one of those spots. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me that Curtis Piegler is a shoo-in for a starting position. Nope. That's not to say he won't be, but you got to evaluate that and see, is there somebody better that we can get. So at least 2 interior positions and then a tackle. I mean, they're losing Trost. Ideally, they can bring in 2 great tackles and then and bump Caden Green back inside, Jadis to center or right guard, and then you're only bringing in one interior guys. But they're going to need to bring in 3 and just with numbers hope that of the 10 guys they have in there, including Logan Reichert, if he can ever be healthy, Jack Lang, who if he's developed enough, you throw enough darts at the wall, hopefully one's gonna hit close to home, and that I think that's how they got to run it for offensive line.
And if you're confused, which I know Hurst was at one point, I was at one point, Jadis he would be a 6th year, and that's because he took a medical. He had a red shirt, like a true red shirt, in 2021. Played 1 game, 1 snap, and then he had a medical red shirt in 2023. So he has 1 more year left to go. If he chooses to take it, sounds like he's going to take it. Moving to the defensive side, defensive line, edge rusher, strong side defensive end, defensive tackle, whatever. It's another position where you take whoever's in there. You got to bring somebody in. Now, we don't know this sitting where we're at. We don't know what Damon Wilson's going to do. Darius Smith could conceivably go, but he doesn't really have the performance stats experience yet. So your edge rushers right now are the incoming JUCO DeMarcus Johnson. Yes, there's Dayton Hopkins, who will be a redshirt freshman. But you have Nate Johnson, Landon Kitchen, Darius Smith, Damon Wilson, all of whom will be done after 2026. It is going to be empty unless you bring in some multi-year guys left from the edge department. And then from the interior, Marquise Graciel, Jalen Marshall returned for the last year so far. You have Sam Williams, Justin Bodford, Elias Williams, Jason Dowell, and then some freshmen. Give me another 3. 1 on the interior, 2 on the edge, 3 on the edge. I don't know. Where do you think?
I mean, I think I would actually go 2 on the interior. You're losing McClellan, you're losing Webb. And those are, I mean, they ate up a huge amount of snaps. Graciel and Marshall kind of split for the 3rd spot there. But you're going to have to, neither of them performed to the level where I'm confident that they're both going to be able to step in and be starters. So they're going to need to bring in at least one starting caliber defensive line, but I would say 2 interior linemen, but I would say 2, even if one's a starter and another one is just another depth piece. You got to bring in 2 to replace 2. And then defensive end, it really comes out of what Wilson's going to do. If he comes back, you can afford to just bring in 1 multi-year guy. Cause as you said, next year it's going to be bare bones. If Wilson goes, then you're definitely gonna have to bring in at least 2 edge guys, at least one multi-year guy, and then the other one could be a multi-year guy if he's there, or a 1-year rental if he's a starting caliber guy, because there's really no one. Darius Smith will come in. He'll be a starter next year, but there's no one else that is a shoe-in for that spot. And there's some depth pieces. Like I feel like Landon Kitchen, as the year progressed, he kind of grew into a nice guy, a nice depth piece there. See 20 snaps a game, but he's not a guy you're going to expect to be a starter. Nate Johnson, not really. Dayton Hopkins, he flashed a little bit, and I think down the road he could definitely turn into a real dude. But can we trust that?
But that's one.
Right. Can we trust that in his redshirt freshman season next year? Because he redshirted this year. He only played in 4 games. Maybe 5. I don't know if he actually got on the field in the bowl game or not. I didn't see.
I don't think
but he could turn into that, but he's not there yet. So yeah, I would say probably 4 total. Yeah, I would say 4 total, 2 interior, 2 exterior, 2 edge, rather.
I would even be okay, given the top heavy feature of the defensive ends. If you want to just get a freshman who is like, oh, this school sucks, and like he's not some 4 or 5 star phenom who's flabbergasted with his current situation, but he can come cheap and he's willing to like change scenery and develop, I would be good with that. This does not need to be all flash from the portal. If you bring in a middling prospect and just like, well, we need somebody to step up when these guys leave, I'm good with that too.
It could even be a Jeremiah Beasley type of situation where he,
there you go,
shows up for. Well, we can't really in that sense because Beasley was a spring transfer. He transferred after the spring practice season. That doesn't exist this year. But so maybe someone who's spent a year and redshirted, never really saw the field, but and maybe it was like the 4-star-ish type of guy who also doesn't think he's going to see the field in the next couple of years. Bring that guy over and develop him a little bit.
Yeah. To the linebackers we go. Even if Josiah Trotter chooses to go the NFL route, which I don't know if he should. Yeah, we're not hearing exactly what he's got, but even if he goes, you still have 7 guys for 2 spots, including Nick Rodriguez, who got so much better as the year went on, and Jeremiah Beasley, who is extremely talented but just got stuck behind Trotter. Don't really need one unless, like a depth piece leaves. Plus, you got Dante McClellan, who's going to be awesome. But I feel really good about this.
Yeah, that's like the one spot on the defense where I really don't think they need to do a whole lot of work on, and that's with losing 3 really experienced seniors off of the linebacking core as it is. Or 2 rather, with Newsom
and Jacobs and Tristan Newsom.
Jacob and Newsom, 2 of those guys really experienced, but that wealth of depth there, and you still got Brian Huff that's hanging out there, and maybe eventually we'll see the field. Incoming JJ Bush, I really like him, the freshman. So yeah, I don't think that unless whoever Josiah Trotter of this season is just knocks on the door and says, hey, I would like to come play for you because you clearly know how to develop linebackers here, and you're like, sure, come on in. But otherwise, there's no need to go and spend resources in that area.
Yeah. On the cornerbacks, you're gonna have to talk me off the panic meter here, because we're losing 3 starters. They trusted 3 guys to play. They're all gone. And behind them is a poo-poo platter of unknown. Maybe even 4. Definitely 3 is what I'd look for on corners.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, this is probably of all, I mean, certainly there's the needs, and we've already talked about a lot of them, but of all the position groups, this is the one where it is you have to bring in 3 guys that are ready to play, or this defense is going to dramatically get worse. You can mix and match, and they've got some guys at the end and defensive line, at least, to fill spots, but they don't have guys to fill. They don't have bodies to fill these cornerback spots.
No.
So yeah, you got to bring in 3 guys that are ready to play. I'd assume Deloach will be a 4th that'll be competing to play a lot, but it's hard. He didn't see the field much this year, so we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, 3. It's got to be 3. If they find a 4th, that's great.
Yeah, and safeties, the amount of versatility that the Missouri asks at safeties to bring to the table. You're losing Carnell, you're losing Catalon. I know Catalon had fewer snaps as the year went on, I think he finished with around 370. Really, it was Beans Banner who stepped in and got 541 very quietly.
Yeah, he ended up being way better than I thought he was going to be, to be honest.
Yeah,
and it's great to have him back, at least as far as now, have him back next year. And Greco kind of started to take a few more of Catalan's snaps too as time went on. And then of course Burks is there.
And assuming Burks is coming back.
Yeah.
You do have Moses Phillips, who had 150 snaps roughly. Not a whole lot behind that. So you can talk yourself into your starting 3 rotation with a 4th. I'd like to see one more, given the amount that you need to bring in other areas like receiver, like offensive line, like corner or punter. I don't want to waste too many spots on safety, but I'd like to see at least one more that's got some starting experience. Maybe 2 years.
Yeah, just one more. I feel like Phillips will see a lot more time next year in the star role that Carnell pretty much never left the field on. It didn't really give Phillips a whole lot of opportunities to play because Carnell was thankfully healthy all year and played well all year. So I think that's Phillips will see a lot more time in that role moving forward.
Yeah. And then you get to the specialists, and 10 minutes before we hit record on this, we found out that old Bobby Meyer, little big kick Bob, he's going to hit the transfer portal after being usurped by Oliver Robbins about halfway through the year. Look, man, Blake Craig is going to come back, and he's going to be your starting kicker, okay? What you're really looking at from the specialist standpoint is a punter. And of all the positions that Eli Drinkwitz whiffed on from the portal this year, punter was the biggest because Luke Bauer said he was going to graduate. They went into the portal and they got Stanford's backup punter who did not punt the year before and then didn't have room for Bauer to come back. You could not screw that up more. And I know some of that is on both parties there, but like, what a flubbing of a position that Eli Drinkwitz loves to talk about. You got to find a guy who punted last year. That's what you need.
There are plenty of punters in Conference USA that would perform better than the punters that we've had this past year, and I'm sure at least one of them is going to go into the transfer portal. So, I know North Texas had a punter that probably is leaving because his coach left. Go get that guy.
Please, somebody who can average more than what did he average? I probably should have looked this up before I even started talking. But I mean, against the Bowl Virginia, he averaged like 30 yards a punt.
Yeah. What was really frustrating through all year was most of those punts were not good. In the 32 to 35 yard range. But then every once in a while he'd uncork a 50 yarder. Like, where did that come from? Why can't you do that every time? And then 5 more 30 yarders and then another 50 yarder. So it's like you knew it was in there, and maybe that's what the coaches saw on tape, but what they didn't see was the 5 consecutive 30 yarders, splitting those up. I don't know. Anyway, let's just get a consistent 42, consistent 42. You don't have to bomb it. You don't have to be Matt Ariza, just punt godding at 80 yards every time. Just a consistent 42 yards every punt.
Missouri, like the best thing Missouri did on special teams was punt return efficiency, and that's because no matter how far he kicked it, which usually wasn't far, it did hang in the air for 4 seconds. So like the return wasn't super great. He had an average of 41.9, a net of 38.4. So I mean, the coverage team did their work because he kept it in the air. It's just you need give me 45. just give me a little bit more than the the 30s that would just dribble out there every once in a while. So. Got to find a punter, hands down. Somebody who's got experience and can actually do it consistently. Because if we learned anything about Eli Drinkwitz and the way he likes to play football, everything on the margins needs to be good. Because he's not going to give you a lot on offense, so everything else has got to be perfect. And it was definitely not from the punting standpoint. So, basically, we've broken this down. I would rank positions of need. Boy, I'm tempted to put punter at number 1. I'm not going to be that cheeky, though. I would say offensive line, probably number 1, tied with corner at number 2. The guys who step backwards first. You need a lot of those to fill in. So I'd say offensive line and corner tied with the kind of 1A, 1B. Receiver number 2, I would put punter number 3, and everything else, is going to kind of side out from there. But those are the big positions in me. How would you rank?
I mean, I'd put quarterback number 1. And then below that, offensive line. I'd probably say, offensive line, cornerback, because cornerback is the one position on the defense that has to be addressed or it's not going to work next year. Offensive line, they at least have bodies, and whether or not they're good or not, we don't know. But they actually have breathing human beings that can play the position. That's not necessarily the case for cornerback. But I'll consider with the importance of offensive line, and you're not going to have a good offense no matter the scheme if the offensive line sucks. That I would put those as 2A and 2B tied there, and then third, probably wide receiver. Fourth, no. I'm probably going to go defensive line, interior defensive line ahead of wide receiver, because just it's the trenches. This is a trenches league. You have to have good talent and depth on both sides of the ball in the trenches, or it's just not going to work. So defensive line would be 3, and then wide receiver number 4.
Yeah. There you go. That's how we see it. Portal shopping starts on the 2nd. Obviously, there's a lot of things that can happen between then and now. I'm a little surprised that we have not seen more portal entries since the end of the bowl game, but hey, maybe everyone's waiting to make the announcement official. But that is where we stand right now. Obviously, we will keep track of it on rockmnation.com. We'll have plenty of pieces tracking what we think should happen, the rumors that we can see. If you go on to RockM Plus, you can see what we've heard, and you can get a little heads up there. But, of course, we'll give you all the information on the actual transfers and the actual roster building as we go through the offseason. But as far as this special podcast, focusing purely on the transfer portal, that is the show for today. And as always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback. You can follow us on Twitter at Matt and H.E. Edwards. He's at Burst at Hurst. Of course, you can follow the RockM flagship at RockM Nation and our podcasting outlet at RockM Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to RockM Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. RockM Radio is the official podcast network of RockM Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of RockM Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of RockM Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find RockM Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of RockM Radio coming to you soon.